Ever feel like certain works of art, they just hit different, like really get under your skin? Today we're tackling one of those, Mihai Eminescu's Luceafărul, or The Evening Star, if you prefer.
Luceafărul. You say that here, it's practically got its own royal family over in Romania.
No kidding. I knew Eminescu was considered their big kahuna, like their Shakespeare or something.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, no pressure on us to do it justice then. Luckily, you're our resident expert today, so fill us in. What's the deal with Luceafărul?
Well, it's the masterpiece. Came out in 1883. It's about this celestial being, the evening star. That's our Luceafărul. And he falls head over heels for a human princess. The real deal,
Ooh, a forbidden love story. I'm in. But our notes say it's more than just a romance, right? Something about folklore, even Schopenhauer gets thrown around. Now that's getting deep.
Eminescu, he was a master at weaving things together, So you've got the Romanian folktale, the maiden in the golden gardens kind of lurking in the background. And on top of that, these big existential questions Schopenhauer was known for.
Okay, gotta be honest, been a hot minute since my philosophy days. Remind me about Schopenhauer. What kind of ideas are we talking about here?
So Schopenhauer, he was all about this concept of the will, this driving force behind everything, constantly striving, but never quite finding satisfaction.
Yeah, right.
And you see that play out in the poem, right, with Luceafărul, this intense longing for something he can't quite grasp.
So it's like the poem is tapping into that universal human experience, wanting what you can't have, the joy and the torture of desire.
Exactly. And then, of course, there's the whole romanticism thing. I mean, Luceafărul is a prime example of Romanian romanticism. Intense emotion, nature's beauty, this sense of longing and melancholy. I think those epic landscapes you see in romantic paintings, that's the vibe.
Okay, starting to see the bigger picture now. Folklore, philosophy, romanticism, all swirling around this story about love, loss, just the whole shebang of existence. But let's get back to the poem itself. First impressions. What grabs you every time?
The thing that always hits me is how Eminescu tackles this idea of genius and the isolation that comes with it,
I feel that.
You've got Luceafărul, this incredibly powerful being traveling the cosmos, privy to knowledge we can only dream of, and yet he yearns for something more, a genuine connection, something that seems just out of reach.
Man, that's relatable, even if you haven't got a spaceship handy. Feeling misunderstood, like you're on a different wavelength. It's wild how Eminescu takes that, something so human, and just blows it up to this epic cosmic scale.
Exactly. And he uses that, the vastness of space, the fact that Luceafărul is immortal, to emphasize that gap between the extraordinary and the ordinary. He even calls the princess Ship de Lutte, creature of clay, which emphasizes her humanness, compared to Luceafărul.
Speaking of the princess, I'm curious about her side of things. I mean, she's the object of Luceafărul's affection and all, but what about her desires? What's her deal?
Well, that's where it gets interesting. Initially, she doesn't have a name, almost like she's this universal idea of beauty and desire, right? But then Eminescu gives her one, Catalina.
And that's important because
it directly echoes her human love interest, Catalina. See what he did there?
Oh, sneaky. Okay, I see it now.
By giving them these super similar names, Eminescu is highlighting the difference between the celestial and the earthly, and just how hard it is to bridge that gap. It's like he's asking, can these two worlds even coexist?
So he's not just messing with us, there's a real point to those names. Clever.
Oh, absolutely. And this tension between the celestial and the earthly, the extraordinary and the ordinary, it's at the core of the most epic scene. Luceafărul's journey to meet the demiurge.
Whoa, hold up. Demiurge. Now remind me who that is again. It's not like we bump into them every day.
Right. Not exactly your average coffee date. Think of the demiurge like, almost like God in this context, a creator figure.
Okay, big guy then.
The really wild part is that Luceafărul, he goes to him with this request, this all-powerful being, all for a human.
It says something, right? True love and all that. So what does he ask for? Does he want the demiurge to, I don't know, make the princess immortal too?
That's where it gets even more intense. He doesn't want to change her. He wants to change himself. He asks the demiurge for the ultimate sacrifice to become mortal, give up his very essence as a celestial being, all for a shot at human love.
Wow. Now that's commitment. So what does the demiurge say? Does he, grant the wish?
He doesn't. The demiurge says no.
Straight up no. After Luceafărul travels the entire cosmos for this.
Yeah, it's a pretty brutal rejection when you think about it. But the demiurge, he has his reasons.
Oh, I'm sure he's got a whole cosmic explanation. Lay it on me.
Basically, he says Luceafărul's desire, it comes from a fundamental misunderstanding of what it means to be human.
So it's like, dude, you're a being of pure light and stardust. You wouldn't last 5 minutes with us down here.
Exactly. He even points out how short and fleeting human life is. It's all about cycles, birth, death, rebirth. He actually tells Luceafărul, "Kachi toi senesc sprea moriae mors presenate," for all are born to die and die to be reborn.
Intense. Yeah, immortality versus an expiration date. That definitely changes your perspective.
Right, and the demiurge seems to be saying that true immortality, the kind Luceafărul already has, it exists beyond human experience. So, wanting mortal love, it's like chasing after something he can never truly grasp.
Oh man, that's almost tragic. Luceafărul is so fixated on this one thing, convinced it'll make him happy, but the demiurge is basically like, nope, wrong path, buddy.
It makes you wonder, do we do that as humans, I mean? Are we chasing the wrong thing sometimes?
That's a question that echoes through the whole poem. And what makes it even more interesting, while this whole cosmic drama is going down, we also keep coming back down to Earth, back to the princess.
Right. Back to reality. And Catalin, her human love interest. Exactly. They're just living their lives, completely oblivious to Luceafărul's grand gesture, his cosmic heartbreak.
Like those movie scenes, the hero's off fighting a dragon, and then it cuts to the love interest having tea, wondering when he'll be back. Except in this case, the dragon is like the concept of death itself.
And the stakes are huge. Luceafărul was ready to give up everything for this love, and yet
life just keeps rolling. The princess has moved on, she's found happiness with Catalin in the here and now, while Luceafărul, he's left dealing with this weight of his sacrifice, even though it was never even accepted. Man, it makes you wonder, what was the point of it all? Is Eminescu, like, messing with us on purpose?
I think that's part of why Luceafărul is so powerful. There are no easy answers, just more questions. But it's not over yet. We talked about those 4 parts of the poem, right? The tableau.
Right. We're getting to the grand finale now, yeah. So, what happens? Does Luceafărul try to argue with the demiurge again? Or does he just give up and stay away from Catalina?
Well, he does go back to her. Just once more. Like he can't quite let go, even though he seems resigned to his fate.
Ooh, this is going to be good. What happens when he sees her again? I can't imagine how awkward that would be, you know?
Oh, it's worse than awkward. He appears before, but she doesn't even know it's him.
Ouch, like, hey, remember me? Traveled across the universe for ya.
It's brutal. She's moved on, perfectly happy with Catalin and their little world.
Talk about a reality check. And after he literally moved heaven and earth, well, stars and space for her.
Eminescu really lays it on thick there. This all-powerful being, reduced to practically a ghost, a forgotten memory. He even asks her, and get ready for this, "Che pasai chiptalut da koifi usawaltul." What is it to you, creature of clay, if it's me or another?
Man, that line just stings. It's like he's saying, do you even realize what you're missing?
It's raw, you know, this outpouring of vulnerability from Luceafărul. And what makes it hit even harder is that he chooses not to fight for her. He gets it. They're just too different. Those worlds will never meet.
So what happens next? How does Eminescu wrap up this whole epic poem?
Luceafărul accepts his fate, but not without a touch of sadness, I think. His last words are so poignant.
Trens in cercul vostru, stramt norocul va petrece, siu in lumea mea ma simne molitorire. Living in your narrow circle, you spend your happiness. But I, in my world, feel immortal and cold.
Immortal and cold.
Yeah.
Man, I'm getting chills just hearing that. He's trapped, isn't he? Forever on the outside looking in. He has everything, but it means nothing.
And that right there, that's Eminescu's whole point about genius, I think. Luceafărul, he's both blessed and cursed. Knowledge, perspective, he's even immortal. Things most people would kill for, but they come at a price.
Like that old saying, be careful what you wish for. Luceafărul wanted to feel what it was like to be human, to experience love like us. But in the end, well, some things just aren't meant to be.
And that's the question Eminescu leaves us with, right? These extraordinary gifts, are they worth it if you have to sacrifice ordinary happiness to get them? It makes you think, no matter what world you live in. This deep dive has been incredible. We started with what seemed like a simple love story and ended up wrestling with philosophy, existentialism, just this huge exploration of what it means to exist. I have a feeling Luceafărul and his hour of love, it's going to stick with me for a while.
As it should. It's one of those poems, you know, it gets under your skin and stays with you. That's the power of Eminescu.